Mic check, mic check. Oh, buddy. Howdy, y'all. Ohio. It's me. It's Wes. How y'all doing? I don't know. Woke up a little bit earlier than I planned to. It's a work day, so I just saw the servers were up and was hopping in here doing some crafting and some weeklies and stuff. So I was like, you know what? Why don't I just go ahead and stream this? So here we are. It's like 6 a.m. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where I am. I'm just here. So yeah, that's this is going to be the stream for today. You know, I really wasn't planning on streaming until probably tomorrow once I've rested up and gotten some stuff done on the back end. You know, don't have actual retail work to worry about. But you know what? I figured if I'm going to be playing this anyways and it's kind of chill, let's just hop in here. Let's just chat. I want to see how you guys are doing. Hope you all had a good weekend. Hope you all had a good start to the week. It was a Monday. That's really about all I can say. It was a Monday in retail and a very weird one. I've said it before. You know, I like my job. It's not exactly like demanding. I just stand at a cash register and sell people books, right? And no one ever really gets mean at me for whatever reason. Like, people like their booksellers. We're one of the few retail jobs I feel like that are kind of immune to the normal Karen response, I guess. We're just calm and comfy. But that doesn't mean that people can't be like weird or somewhat rude to you, even if it's like unintentional. And that's kind of how yesterday was. So it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just a weird day. But I made it through. Thankfully, today's kind of a short shift, so, you know, I'll be able to get home a little bit early, assuming I can stay awake, get some stuff done on the back end here for the stream, and prep for tomorrow. Still need to make my thumbnail, but yeah, we're gonna do some more FF7 tomorrow, get through the rest of Midgar, I think. I mean, we're flying through it so fast that I genuinely have no idea how long it's gonna take us to leave Midgar, but I feel like we're already well past the halfway point. You know, we still have a little bit to do at the plaza and all of that, but it shouldn't take too long. And my FF7 streams will go typically a little bit longer than my usual 1 or 2 hours, right? So I think that's what we're going to do tomorrow. I was thinking about maybe trying Wild Hearts at some point this week, but I was looking at the reviews and I guess the performance is still kind of wacky. I really wanted to give it a shot because I've been kind of in the mood for a Monster Hunter game. Monster Hunter-esque, but yeah, if the performance is super shoddy, you know, we'll probably just do Monster Hunter World or anything. It's just, man, I've got to relearn everything about the game, so I was kind of hoping against hope that maybe I could try something else, but, you know, it is what it is. It's not like Monster Hunter's like a bad game or anything. I'm just very bad at it, so we'll play that one by ear. Yeah, tomorrow for sure, some more FF7. But yeah, you know, today it's just casual chats, casual hellos. I don't know, I'm kind of out of it. You know, I didn't get nearly as much sleep as I wanted. I was woken up by some family early this morning. I don't go too much into it on stream, but it's a very weird situation that I'm in. So I just kind of make do with what I can and go from there. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, it hasn't been too crazy to the start of the week. So I got my coffee. I got everything that I feel like I need to kind of get started. I'm basically just staving off work at this point. I'm just hoping against hope to put it off as long as I can. I don't have to go in for a few more hours, so we can kind of do this, but. You know, I already got my weekly turn-ins and stuff, so I don't know, we might run something a little bit, you know, with the new patch. They've released the requirements on a lot of things and added the brine from the raid coins, so I might give that a shot. I don't know if the augmented lunar weapon, I can't remember what it's equivalent to. I can't remember if it's equivalent to the relic weapon or the savage weapon. Stupid trucks. All right. So I have to look at that. You know, I don't know if I'm really going to need it at all. I think it's going to come down to the glam more than anything else. But I thought, you know, maybe I should hop in and give that a shot, see if I can do something with it. Right now, I'm just trying to make some more crafting food. The problem is I don't know if my macros are set up for the Vu or whatever it's called, right? Like, I've got a macro for level 40 durability, but I'm so far beyond what the requirements are for this food that I feel like I'm going to end up overshooting it and completely screwing up the macro instead of just high qualitying it. So we'll play it by ear and see how that goes. But yeah, I just started trying to gather for it, so we've got plenty of time. I think the cinnamon is timed too, so I don't know. You know, I figure anything that I don't make or craft, I can just sell the extra. It's time that I actually started making money off this Omni crafting stuff, right? But beyond that, it's you know, it's just gonna be a chill day, just kind of chatting. You know, I thought maybe a guitar stream or something like that, but I literally just woke up a little bit and did my dailies and came here, so that's kind of where we're at. I didn't even see that the servers came up early, so I was like, eh, well, why not? You know, I think some people expect like the super high end, like, oh, big reaction streams, that kind of thing, but it's just not that kind of day at this point, I think. Okay, so crafting methods. I need palm syrup, which I can get at the Great Work. All right, and this one I feel like is the one that always took me forever. It's just so much palm syrup. I've got to craft it all. Yeah, it's just kind of annoying more than anything. Another one that I don't know if I have a macro for, so we'll just have to play it by ear so I can try and high quality it. It's not a huge deal. I think I can high quality it without having HQ mats, but anything that makes it a little bit easier on the macro will probably be for the best. So yeah, I've been playing this quite a bit more lately. Just mostly off stream stuff. It's not like you're really missing a whole lot. It's basically just logging in to make sure that I renew the timer on my house and then come back and maybe do a daily or two, just try and get those tomes right. And you know, just kind of reflecting on everything that happened with the live letter, just kind of having some fun with it and seeing, you know, what I can do to kind of prep for it. I know there's on the Twitch stream, there were a lot of comments about the amount of content that we're getting per patch. But like, I really don't see any issues with it. Like, it's a pretty standard point X patch, in my opinion. You get a dungeon, we get a new raid step, and a couple other small things that were kind of unexpected. So I think we'll have more than enough content to go with it. But people were comparing it to other MMOs and that kind of thing. Is like, have you really even played those other MMOs lately? The ones where you get maybe one patch a year, if that, and it's not even all that much content when you get down to it. So yeah, I think they're right on pace for what's pretty standard for FF. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to them maybe switching it up a little bit. I know that we kind of get into a rhythm, so nothing super surprising, which, you know, in terms of fandoms, I guess that's not necessarily a big deal. I think more people are just kind of interested in, you know, where the story's headed and that kind of thing. But as a content creator, obviously, it can be very difficult to do these live letter watch-alongs, and it's like, oh, well, this was expected. So you kind of miss out on, like, the big reactions. I mean, I'm not, like, that kind of reaction streamer anyways. Like, if that's the kind of content you're looking for, I've got bad news for you about this channel. I'm never going to be the super loud and obnoxious reaction Twitch streamer, right? But, you know, there are occasionally some things that I get super excited about, and I'll post the clips and stuff on the channel. But you know, obviously that's not going to be as much of a possibility when everything's kind of routine. So yeah, I'm not necessarily opposed to them kind of switching it up. We're just kind of in a bit of an awkward phase because we don't really know how things are going to go moving forward. Since this is so different from every other patch cycle that we've ever had. I feel like maybe that might be part of it. We're so used to, you know, point 1 through point 3 kind of wrapping up the story to an expansion, right? So now that we're not in that position, we've been kind of following this same story for 4 patches now, which is very, very different from what we're used to. And that does kind of feel like it's dragging out maybe a little bit more than usual. So, you know, it's kind of uncharted territory. I'm sure once the next expansion rolls around and we can get back into the regular rhythm of our normal patch cycles, right? Because usually the 0.3 patches, those are the big ones, right? Like last time we had, let's see, like, you know, last time we had Seed of Sacrifice and everything. So, you know, they're big story moments, usually big emotional moments for the expansion. And we didn't really get that this time, which I think is kind of making it a little bit harder to kind of tell where everyone's at and getting super excited about what's going to happen for the next patch. I think the 0.5 patch is going to have some really wacky stuff with it. You know, we're already going to be taking down spoilers ahead, by the way. This is a spoiler heavy stream since we talked stories, so but yeah, we're already going to be taking down Golbez. So I genuinely have no idea where the 0.5 patch is going to go. I mean, obviously it's going to lead into the next expansion. I have a feeling, I think FanFest does take place before we're going to start getting some 0.5 live letters. In fact, it probably the first 0.5 live letter will be at FanFest if it follows the normal schedule. I think that's how they normally do it, right? So it's going to be a little bit different. And yeah, I just genuinely have no idea where we're going to go after Golbez. Like, yeah, you could do the whole Final Fantasy IV thing and have us fight Zeromus or Chaos or whatever, right? But, you know, I feel like at the end of Golbez, we've kind of wrapped up the 4 references and are kind of moving on to the next expansion. So I wouldn't be surprised if it is something that's just completely new and something that will lead us into wherever we're headed next. Whether it's Marasidia or what have you. So, see, I think 0.4 is just kind of, most of it's been expected, maybe a little bit earlier than we expected, but we kind of knew that all of this stuff was going to happen at some point, right? Like, it's not, what do I need here? Oh, wow, I forgot it's like 6 palm sugar. Yeah. Yeah, so this is going to take some time. I gotta gather a lot of this shit. So yeah, I mean, we knew most of this stuff was going to be happening. We didn't know it was going to happen this early, but it's not super unexpected, right? So I think that kind of tempered a little bit of the expectations in terms of what all's going on. But obviously, once the patch actually hits, we'll get in there and have some fun with it, right? We always do here. People don't complain once the content is usually out, especially with the new raid series coming. Yeah, I'm gonna see how we do. I really want to try and find a static. That's still a big thing. I think just in terms of content that we can have here on the stream, in terms of things that I just want to do in FF14 that I still don't get to really do because of Party Finder. Yeah, I want a static. I want an ultimate group. But getting some Savages done, I'm not going to complain about that either. You know, you can get it done through Party Finder. I know this last tier was apparently just absolutely awful to try and do through Party Finder. Like, E8S is just absolutely brutal when it comes to trying to learn it with a bunch of randos. But I want to get it done. I mean, you guys know me. You know I'm super proud of my Red Mage play. It won't take me much time to get back into the rhythm of those 95 plus numbers, right? But I haven't really gotten to do it the past couple of patches, and obviously that's hurting what we can do here on stream in terms of maybe making some new Talking the Red episodes and all of that, because I do like that kind of stuff. I really like making those Red Mage guides. We don't have too many like high-end Red Mage guides, and especially none that are like just kind of chill and talking you through it instead of just throwing a bunch of numbers and theory crafting at you, right? So, yeah, I'd like to get back into it, but we'll just have to see how it goes. There's some things that I've been doing off of stream to try and help the whole VTuber thing kind of take off and see how that goes. But obviously that kind of stuff takes some time. But if it works out, then who knows? Maybe it'll be a little bit easier to find a static. I need to stop being so introverted and start contacting some people on my friends list and see if they want to do it. You know, there are a few, you know, really nice people here on Crystal, some of whom stream. I don't know if you watch Kiriari at all, but I used to watch her quite a bit, and you know, she helped me through some raids back in the day. Not too many, you know, we would hop in every now and then, and yeah, it'd be nice to catch up, see what all's going on. I know Llama Todd, you know, started on Crystal, but he's got his real life stuff to worry about right now. So, you know, everyone keep him in your thoughts. We're all pushing for you, Llama. We love you. But yeah, there's some good Crystal streamers out there that I kind of have let fall by the wayside that I'd like to catch up with and have some fun, because they are good people. It's just, obviously, being content creators, everyone likes to go to the big raid servers, but we're small but proud here on Crystal, and we've got a good crew, so, you know, it's maybe time to do that again, right? I saw Kiri got her newest model. She's kind of like Iron Man. She gets new models every now and then. My problem is just, like, as much as I like them, I'm just never on Twitch, right? Like, I'm the YouTube streamer of the bunch, which is obviously a lot smaller. But I don't know, I just like the culture here a little bit more. I like the fact that I can go from watching a weird documentary about, I don't know, Disneyland. You know the channels I'm talking about. But I like the fact that I can go from watching that kind of stuff to seeing, you know, a YouTuber that I follow in my subscription feed, and then, oh, I'll go watch that instead. Which I feel like I have to be in the mood to, like, watch a specific streamer to really head there, and I don't really do all that much because, you know, most VTubers anyways, are here when it comes to, you know, Hololive and Niji and whatnot, so this is just kind of my home base. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I start watching Twitch again, I'll get back in the habit of watching my old faves. But, you know, as far as our channel goes, we'll always be here. You'll always know where to find me. I really have no plans of going back to Twitch anytime soon. It's just too much setup. It's too much setup. Everyone is already here in terms of watching the channel. This is where everyone kind of checks me out. So, yeah, I like YouTube. I just wish they would get their act together and do some stuff on their end. That's kind of the thing with being really any streamer, right? You're always kind of at the mercy of the parent company. And in our case, like, I like YouTube. They've been very good with content creators, but obviously they've got their flaws with the content ID system and just the general UX design in terms of trying to find new people to watch, right? Like, they've been pretty good with my impression rate. I feel like it is a lot easier to get started as a smaller streamer here, because the algorithm, I feel like, is a little more lenient if you know how to make your thumbnails. Like, they really have no problem trying to suggest smaller follower channels here. But the UI is just garbage. If it's not on the homepage, it's kind of a pain to find the streaming services, right? So, yeah, it is what it is. But I don't mind being a little bit smaller here and having that loyal base that I know you guys watch the VODs and all of that, so I appreciate it. You know, I feel like you don't have to watch me live. I don't really make the kind of content that you really have to watch live unless you just want to chat and ask some questions and kind of hang out, which I like that kind of stuff, by all means. If you guys ever just want to ask questions or anything like that, feel free. I mean, the chat bar's up. But it's not, like, super required for my channel. As long as you guys watch it eventually, that's fine. You know, I appreciate any clicks. I appreciate any you know, subs. You know, share it if you like the content, you know. I'm not super active on, like, Reddit or anything like that, but I appreciate it when people are like, hey, check out this guy. That to me means a lot more than any ad revenue or super chats or anything like that. I mean, obviously I appreciate those things, but I've been in that position before where it's like, you know, I like this streamer, but I have no money. I can't really afford to try and donate to them or anything like that. So, you know, just the clicks and the shares, that means a world of difference, you know, help grow the channel a little bit. But yeah, that's kind of enough of that. You know, as I was saying, I'm just trying to figure out what we want to do for the next patch series. Obviously, we'll be doing an MSQ play along, maybe doing, you know, a little bit of the new raid and that kind of thing. But it's not a super surprising one. I think a lot of it's going to come down to how the raid series is. I mean, I've said before that I am excited about it, because I don't really know what's going to happen story-wise. But, you know, it's not, I don't know, it's not something that I'm, like, waking at the knees. My loins are not quivering at the new content. But, you know, once we get in here, that could change up a little bit. You know, it could end up being just an awesome raid series with really, really fun and intuitive fights. You just really don't know until you actually see it. And it doesn't help that obviously the past live letter was more, you know, it was more just kind of giving an overview. We didn't get too many screenshots or anything like that. I feel like I need to go back and watch my FF4 play along to see what kind of hints we might have for the Golbez fight. See if there's anything kind of fun, maybe waiting in the wings in terms of his moveset. It doesn't really mean much, because who knows what's going to happen once you actually get in, what the moves are going to look like. But I think it'll be fun. I need to actually do it in the extreme version though. I missed out last time. I still have not done the last trial extreme. I think more than anything, that was just because I really didn't need anything from it. Yeah, the new weapon would have been nice, but since I'm not really doing Savage raiding right now, it wasn't super, like, required or anything like that. Okay. How am I going to handle this? This is tricky. Because I don't think I've got a macro to make all of this easy, and it's going to be really, really annoying. I can already tell, right? Is this divisible by 6? I'm just way too tired to try and do this math in my head. Divide by 6. Okay. So I can make 63, which still is not even nearly enough for how many I need to make. Like, that'll make me, what, like 30 Sayunvu? Yeah. Yeah, because I need... Oh, no, I can make more than that, because it's only 1 each. Okay, so it's a little bit of a start. Not a ton. You know, I was hoping to make, like, a full stack or something like that, but since we're just hanging out, it's not really a big deal. I've got other stuff that I need to go and try and find, right? Where's my coal? Recommend gear. Okay, they're already at max. Alright, crafting. Yeah, see, I genuinely have no idea. This 40. I mean, I can give it a shot. I don't know if this is gonna work. Where's my macros here? 90. So I think that would do it. I think maybe that is my level 90 macro. I guess we'll find out. I'll just press it and see what happens. That's really all I can do at this point. It might accidentally make it. It might HQ it. I don't know. Okay. That went ahead and finished it. Got it. What about one of my other macros? This is... Oh, buddy. Oh, this is it. Yeah. Because it is less than 90, yeah, 89, there we go. Nice, nice. Here we go, so we'll press this one. This should be more than enough, I think. Take me quite a bit. I don't think I even, at this point, need any food or anything for it. So this is crafting. I mean, I could make a welcome sprout guide for this. I might still, I don't know. I haven't really decided or anything like that, but hey, there we go. Do I have enough CP to do it? That's going to be the question. I think I do. Watch it. Yeah. But yeah, I need to make a welcome sprout for it, but ultimately, once you get to the high end, if you're just watching and you're not big on crafting, this is essentially it. Like, you find a macro on Teamcraft or something like that, or you make your own. You know, a lot of times I will find a macro on Teamcraft that it sort of works, but I don't necessarily have quite the same gear. It kind of depends on where you're at gear-wise in terms of, you know, do you have a full set of the fancy stuff? Did you go ahead and spend that 20 million gil on it? Or are you kind of piecemealing everything together? So, yeah, I'll find a macro on Teamcraft, and since I don't buy the top-end gear whenever it first comes out, I kind of make my own. I have to go through and kind of, you know, I have to edit the macros to my taste based on what I can do. So it might be a decent template, but I might need to add an extra step here, remove an extra step here. Maybe there's a couple of moves where I'm at that are not quite needed. You know, that's what happened with my Splenderous tools, right? The first step, there's a macro that you can get on Reddit that's really good for the second step. But for the first step, it's a bit too much. Like, I ended up completing my craft before it was actually at the quality that I needed. So I had to go through and kind of edit some things like that. But that's essentially what it is. If you're a big fan of crafting, a lot of people make their own macros. And thankfully, they have made it easy now to actually do that. Like, you can practice your macro. You can practice your crafting before you actually go in and make the item. So you have options available to you now, right? And I think there's some fun of it. You know, it really is kind of its own job. It's not like crafting in a lot of other games where, you know, you press one button and it just rolls the dice to see if you complete it or not, right? Like a certain other MMO. You know, this really is a full-fledged job. It's pretty in-depth. So, you know, it's definitely worth maybe doing a Welcome Sprout episode on it. But that might be a little bit later on down the line. I don't know when we'll get it done or when we decide to start it. Like, even right now, this macro that I'm using, like, I'm so far beyond what I needed in gear at the time that I made it, that I'm finishing it a little bit early. I'm still getting the entire HQ, because most of your macros are going to focus on getting that first. Like, you'll get your progress up to a certain point where you know you can finish it, and then you spend all the middle steps working on your quality, because you want that HQ. You want to try and do as much as you can to HQ all of your crafts. So that's where the majority of the macro is spent, right? So right now, like, I'm getting all the middle steps done, but I'm so far beyond on gear that my progress is going a little bit faster than I needed at the time that I made this macro. So I could probably remove that last step and it would be perfectly fine. I'm not going to because I like this macro, but there's really, you know, I don't necessarily have to, right? So beyond that, you know, there's a lot that you need to do in terms of actually understanding what your moveset does, right? Like, I feel like a lot of the combat jobs, you don't necessarily need to know what they all do. I mean, it helps. But for the most part, you just kind of look up your rotation, right? And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of what I need. You know, if you want to get those 90+ numbers, then yeah, you need to understand what your moveset does. But for the most part, you can just look up a rotation guide, right? Here, it's kind of important if you're going to know, if you're going to build your own macros, you really need to know what every individual move does. Like, I slept on something like manipulation for so long. You know, you see something like manipulation, you see it has a 96 CP cost, and you're like, oh man, I don't have the CP to spare on that. When would I ever need to use that? What's this useless thing, right? But it turns out it's like one of the most important moves that you've got. Like almost every macro at endgame uses manipulation, uses waste not to. You know, the small things that are not necessarily like specifically, hey, this increases your quality and this increases your progress, right? I think that's the biggest trap to fall into. That's the trap that I fell into early on in crafting, is you're only focused on the abilities that give you straight progress or straight quality. But if you're going to start doing high-end crafting and start making your macros, you really need to know what some of this extra stuff does. You know, great strides is super important for a couple of these high-end things, especially if you're going to try making your own indicator set or anything like that. There are a couple macros that use final appraisal, which is not something that I typically use all that much in most of my macros, but it becomes super important with some of the other ones. You know, the current Splenderous Tools macro that I uses final appraisal because it focuses on getting your progress as high as you possibly can, like right off the bat, right? Like the progress is much easier to finish than your quality, for the most part. So final appraisal allows you to do all of your progress steps right off the bat without accidentally completing it. So you can get everything done up to like 99.9% progress in like 2 steps, right? And then you have all of those extra steps in the middle to work on getting your quality up. So it's really important for the Splenderous Tools piece sets, right? All of the stuff you have to turn in to get your Splenderous Tools done. So yeah, I'd recommend actually spending some time and playing around with some of these side abilities, I guess you could call them, because they are incredibly important. If anything, most of like the actual progress and quality abilities don't matter at high end. They really don't. It's basically, for like 90% of the macros that I see, it's going to be either preparatory touch and groundwork. That's really about it. And then Byrot's Blessing for, you know, finishing off that quality step. But you know, you don't usually use a lot of these middle grade ones. A lot of the ones that are like proc dependent, if you're doing it all by hand, like trying to make that one-off thing, they're important. I don't really know of too many macros that people use to actually make like their indicators gear. Most of that stuff I feel like people do by hand. They might use a macro as a template, but I think they try and finish it by hand because it is so important. So you might use the proc stuff. These right here, the intensive ones. You might use those when you're crafting like a really important like one-off thing where you want to make sure you have as much manual control as you can. But when you're just crafting like a bunch of high quality, you know, potions or something like that for the market board, yeah, just you can take those off the bar pretty much, and you're not really going to be using any of the intensive and proc-based items or proc-based abilities for just general like market board crafting where you're just trying to make 100 of something all at once. It would just take too much time to worry about it, you know? That's the whole point of the macros, is you're making massive amounts of these things. Like how many palm sugars am I making right now? Like I'm not even close to done at this point. I forgot that I think this makes 3 palm sugar per thing, right? So I'm gonna have like 300 palm sugar by the time I'm done with this. I can probably get rid of the normal quality one. So yeah, you don't want to be doing this by hand. It's gonna take you days to do it. I mean, even just doing this on stream, trying to get it done, is probably gonna take most of the stream. It's very common. Especially when I was making all of my foundation stuff. You know, for leveling up the jobs, the firmament is still probably the main way to do it if you follow most guides. And I would be in there most of the day just leveling up my jobs, just because it takes so long, even with the macros, to try and make all of the firmament stuff that you need. I mean, you're making a couple of hundred pieces there, so it's a lot. It's definitely time consuming, right? Here we go. But that's why I'm streaming. Like, this is, it's not probably the most interesting content in terms of watching. Like, if you're someone that wants to watch Sprout tears as they go through the MSQ, this is definitely not it, right? But it does make a perfect little Zatsudan stream, right? Where we can just hang out and we can talk. I can try and wake up. I've already downed 2 cups of coffee and it really didn't help. Like, thank God that I've got, like, a short shift today. Like I've mentioned it on stream before, like, I can do the short shifts. Like, I prefer short shifts. Like, I really 100% do not mind shifts where I don't get a lunch. Just put me in there for 4 hours as basically a retail mercenary to cover lunches and stuff. And I can do that practically every day, right? And then I can come home in the afternoon, do some streaming. You know, there's options, right? And here, I'm going to lower this a little bit. And there we go. But the long shifts are the ones that kill me. Anything that's like 6 hours and above. I usually have 1 shift of those a week, and then like 1 short shift a week. Like, it's not very many hours. That's why I like this job. Is even if the job annoys me, it's not a ton of hours, right? Even though it's retail, I have some flexibility in what I can do in the off time, because I've got way too much stuff that I'm trying to work on to try and spend 40 hours a week working retail, right? So, yeah. I mean, and again, the job's not too bad compared to every other retail job I've had. So, yeah, it is what it is. Thankfully, they don't push our numbers too much. I mean, it's not really like I have a whole lot of choice. Like, I literally just stand at the cash shop. It's not like my last job. My last job was like an actual sales job. Even though it was retail, it was a sales job. You know, walk around the floor, try and spin, sell, upsell, do the actual marketing and that kind of thing. Like, make that connection with your customers, right? Here, I just stand here and everyone comes to me. And they don't really keep track of our numbers. Like, we've got a membership and all of that stuff, but they're not super big on it, which I'm thankful for. Like, that's one of my big annoyances with a lot of retail jobs is, like, you know, you got to push those credit cards, right? And like, because we've got a new membership program coming up at this job, like, my manager, who I've known for years, right? That's probably why I got the job, is we're friendly with each other. So, you know, he came up to me and was like, hey, I've got to go over all this stuff with you. He was like trying to tell me how to like sell the membership, and it's like, you know, make that connection with your customers first before you try and sell it. And he looked at me, he was like, I know this isn't going to be a problem for you. I'm like, I know, I've got a degree in this. You're not going to have to worry about me knowing how to sell. And I feel like he kind of knows, like, they ain't paying me enough to do the full-on marketing that I can do, right? Like, I've written papers on how to spin sell. If they wanted to pay me 70, 80,000 grand a year, then yeah, I'll do as much spin selling as you want. But for $12 an hour, like, they're gonna get what they get. And if they have a problem with it, the district manager can come and talk to me personally. And we can hash this out. But they're not keeping track of the numbers too much, so it's not really too much of an issue. My last job, that's why I ended up leaving the last job, is they were really trying to push like the credit cards and how to spin sell and stuff. And it's like, buddy, I've taken many classes on how to do this. I've done this most of my life. Y'all ain't paying me enough to do this at my full power. If you want the final form of marketing Wes, you gotta pay me, and it's definitely more than hourly wages. So yeah, I will see how it goes. Our store's kind of weird. I really don't know how it's gonna go, because like they explicitly told me like, hey, if you've got a long line, like don't worry about trying to do all of this stuff, right? But the grand majority of my customers come in like rushes, right? Like we're kind of in a weird position in terms of the other businesses around us. So we get like weird rushes at like 12:45, 3:45. Like I don't know if it's just like the lunch schedules of the people around us or what. But it's not too often that I really have time to just sit and chat with the customer. There's almost always like kind of a line when I do have people come up to the counter. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know how it's going to go compared to the other stores, but it is what it is. It's a paycheck. So I'm not super concerned with it. I'm more concerned about the technical things with it, because most of our stores is literally running a DOS program. Like this program, I worked at the store ages and ages ago before I went on a different life path. You know, I was in kind of nearing the end of high school and, you know, working a few retail jobs here and there over the summers. And this was one of them, right? It's still the same system that we had back then. And that was literally like 13, 14 years ago, right? It really has not changed. They've added a couple buttons to it, and that's really about it. So I'm real curious how this is going to hold up with trying to do like advanced membership things. I think that's what we're worried about more than anything. Not necessarily the conversion rates of these memberships, but just trying to fight our sales system. Try and fight our computers. Oh man. But yeah, that's how today's gonna go. I don't have to go in for a few more hours, so it's not necessarily a huge deal. You know, I can sit here and just kind of chill on stream a little bit, right? But yeah, thankfully it'll be a short shift. If the whole thing goes up in flames, I won't be there long enough to really have to worry about it. I don't like my coworkers, but I do have to kind of let them know, like, hey. Occasionally I'll get people like, hey, you want to trade shifts? Like, I have a very simple rule with most of my jobs because of everything that I do. Like, it's more of a side job, right? Like, I consider this kind of my main job and some of the other video writing, editing things that I have to do off stream, right? Those are my main jobs. I have to kind of like gently let them like, hey, I'm sorry, but I don't trade shifts. Like, I don't take shifts and I don't ask for shifts. I'm shift neutral. I feel like it's just the way to do it, you know? It wouldn't be fair of me to be like, hey, I don't take shifts, and then constantly ask for other people to do it, so I just remain shift neutral. Whatever's on the schedule, that's what I've got, and that's how it's gonna stay. So, yeah. It's nice that they work with me on these kind of things, though. It's like my only pet peeve is changing my shifts around a whole lot, or loading me with hours when I explicitly said in the interview, like, hey, I cannot work over this many hours a week, right? Like this job was basically perfect. Like they came in and were like, hey, we're only looking for this many. Like legitimately, this is all you're going to get. There are weeks you might only work 1 or 2 days. Is that fine? I was like, yes. This is the dream retail job. This is the golden unicorn. If I'm gonna be stuck working retail, this is the pillar upon which my expectations were built. Right. You know, I've said it a lot of times. It's not necessarily the jobs themselves. Like I've worked retail long enough that it's kind of old hat to me. For me, it's just this area. I wish I was back in my old city. For me, it's never the job, it's the people, you know. My biggest pet peeve, I think, more than anything else, and why I hate working retail in this area is like, first of all, almost everyone around here are retired or near retirement. Like, there are very, very few people my age around here, right? So the grand majority of customers that I have to deal with are exactly the kind of people you would expect for a rural, kind of southernish state, right? I'm not gonna go into all of that on stream, but you know the types, right? My biggest pet peeve is people who think I'm a lot younger than I actually am. And they try and hold that against me, like, oh, well, I'm older than you, so I have more experience and I'm smarter than you, right? And to be fair, I do look much younger than I actually am. Like, you've seen my live webcam streams. I don't know if it really comes across on camera all that much, but people genuinely think like I'm a college student, right? Like, they think I'm like maybe 25 tops, and it's like, dude, I'm almost 40. Like, I've been around, right? Like, I am a full-fledged, experienced adult with a lot of work history, right? But they don't see that. They just assume I'm some young gun that's never had any hardships or work experience in my life, and I just have to, like, I have to shake my head sometimes, and it's like, dude, I've probably got a better resume than you do. Like, I'll put mine against most everyone's in this town. Which, yeah, that might be a little big-headed of myself, right? I'll throw that out there. Obviously, if it was that impressive, I wouldn't be an anime character on the internet, right? But yeah, this is what I enjoy doing, so I'm not going to complain about it. I really have no problem doing this as a career. But obviously, like, it's been a very eventful life, just not a super lucrative one, right? But I am proud of my resume, and I am proud of the work that I've done. So to have people just assume that, like, oh, they're old, so they know more than I do, man, that's annoying. Oh, buddy, that is annoying. So yeah, I just deal with it a lot, and it's not like in this job they're super mean about it or anything like that. Like I said, no one goes all Karen on me, really. Being a bookseller, it's like, oh, they're books. Like, did you read it? Did you enjoy it? Okay. Like, that's really about it. Right? So I don't have to deal with it too much, but you know, you still get the kind of snarky comments, or just they have that attitude about them in terms of things, right? Like, you know, the attitude. It's not like quite Karen, like I want to talk to the manager attitude, but it is kind of like a haughtiness to them. So that's most of what I deal with. I just thankfully can kind of roll my eyes at this job and just kind of just silently nod and just sell them their books and move on. But it was a much bigger deal in my last job as an electronics retailer. And like trying to explain technology to them, that's really where it was a big issue and why I ended up leaving. Like, I can deal with it here. Most people are nice enough or just like want to talk about what they've read. It's very different when you're trying to explain to someone why that $300 laptop is going to last maybe 6 months before they're annoyed with it. You know, they just don't get it. They don't get it, and they have a big head about themselves about it, right? Like, I didn't grow up with this technology, and like, dude, I got my first computer 30 years ago. You've had the time to learn it. You just chose not to. So yeah. Oh, but that's my job rant. That's my Reddit rant for today. I do go to Reddit for my jobs. I like to see what other employees are saying. I don't really post on them all that much, but sometimes it's just cathartic. Get that out, right? So yeah, and who knows? Maybe this will take off. Maybe I'll get a job that actually uses my resume one day. Preferably somewhere on one of the coasts. I don't care about the higher cost of living as long as they pay me more for it. My bar is not exactly that high. I can live on $15 an hour. That's not an issue. I can make it work in a little studio. It's just convincing someone to let me move. Please get me out of here. But yeah, that's why I put so much focus on this. Like, I do genuinely like this. You know, I've been in media and entertainment for so long, and this is, I feel like, just like a new era for entertainment. You know, like YouTube and whatnot, Netflix, all of these streaming services really have taken over traditional television. Like, you'll still have a lot of traditional shows, but I know in a lot of the discords that I'm in and a lot of the people that we talk with, like, we spend as much time on YouTube as we do on Netflix, and we spend a lot of time watching VTubers and other streamers, and you know, the type of content that we can do as VTubers, like, if we want to make that kind of content that you would see on a typical show, like, we can. There's really nothing stopping us, right? So, you know, as someone in media and entertainment, like, I love this stuff. I love being a VTuber and being able to just really have some control over what I want to make, and I can base it around what kind of stuff that I watch. So yeah, it's just, it's where I want to go. It's what I want to do. We'll see if it holds up. We'll see if the channel can grow little bit by little bit, and you know, increase what we can do. I know this sitting here crafting is probably not the best way to showcase that. I don't blame you. But again, it's early morning. I'm just doing this because I had nothing else to do, and I was doing it anyway, so I might as well stream it, right? We'll get back to the quality content when I go back to FF7 tomorrow and get back to, you know, stuff that I don't know. I am excited about it because we are entering that point in the game where I really don't remember anything else. So most of it'll be like seeing the whole game new. You know, obviously I know the big plot points. Like, you're not going to get a big reaction out of me when we get to the temple. You know the scene that I'm talking about. You know, I've seen that before. It's basically like the video game equivalent of Darth Vader saying he's Luke's father, right? Like, at this point, everyone knows about it. So you're probably not going to get a big reaction out of it. We might meme on it a little bit. But I think everything else in terms of the story, it'll be fun, just like in the sense of, hey, I am kind of doing most of this fresh, so I'm gonna be making a lot of mistakes and kind of figuring everything out on the fly again. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. I don't even really remember the second half of Midgar. Like, I've gotten out of Midgar and kind of quit the game several times, but I really don't remember where I'm at in terms of how close I am to Midgar. The only reason any of it really seems familiar whatsoever is because of the remake. If it wasn't for the remake, I would be completely lost right now. Like, I genuinely don't remember most of what's going on after Wall Market. So yeah, we're kind of at that point. So we'll get in there. We'll have some fun. It'll be a long stream. You know, we'll play as long as I can until I just get too hungry to go on, I guess. So yeah, I feel like that's the other reason I really want this to take off and get out of this town, is so that I can just keep streaming more. Like, around here, we don't really have DoorDash, right? Like, we have a couple of restaurants that'll DoorDash, but it's not really a big thing where I'm at, so it's kind of limited. As opposed to if I was back in one of the big cities, I could keep streaming and just order something for delivery and not stop the stream. Here, I don't really have that option. That's why whenever I get really hungry, I end up having to stop the stream, because I have to physically go out and drive to get it. We just don't really have a lot of delivery options here. So I feel like it's just more of a hindrance than anything where I'm at. If I was back in my old city and doing this, oh man, we'd be pulling those kind of streams that managers start yelling at their talents for, right? We'd be pulling like Kayla hours doing some of this stuff, because I really don't mind it. I'm doing most of this stuff off stream anyways. The only reason I really stopped gaming is for actual work or because I'm working on another video, right? Like I gotta open up Premiere and start doing that kind of thing, right? Like I can't stream when I'm getting footage, like video game footage for this stuff. But yeah, if I'm not doing that stuff, I'm playing these games anyways. If I'm not doing that, then, you know, there's probably something pretty insignificant. To be fair, I am watching a lot of K-dramas. I just finished the Glory, which was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Now I've started a Korean Odyssey. It's kind of silly. Like, I'm not super big into kind of sitcom-y K-dramas, where they use, like, the funny sound effects and they're kind of hamming it up for the camera. But it's more of a dramedy. You know, it's based off Journey to the West, which I didn't know whenever I first started it. So, like, I get in there and, like, the main character is, like, the Monkey King, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that kind of sold me on it. So, it's not as good as I wanted it to be, but it's still very good. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of a nice cool down after the Glory, which is just, like, serious the entire time through. Like, it's pretty dour, right? So yeah, this one's kind of fun. It's funny. Yeah, I'm not big on K-drama overacting for comedy bits, but I can sit through it, and they're charming enough that it's not too big of an issue. So yeah, that's the other big thing that I'm doing off stream. Honestly, that's probably what I'm doing more than anything else. Like, I actually haven't been playing a whole lot of games off stream. It's mostly just been catching up on shows. At this point, if I'm going to be gaming, then yeah, I usually try putting it on stream. The only times I don't really put a game up on stream is really if I'm, like, trying to test it to make sure that the bitrate's going to work. Or just testing to see if I'm good at it, like Monster Hunter World. I played it for, like, an hour yesterday or the other day. Like, okay, I'm not ready for this. So yeah. You know, I don't think people realize that there's, like, that much that goes into streaming off stream, right? You'd think I just hop in here and it's like, okay, we'll do this, but nah, you got to get in here, you got to test the bitrate and everything in Streamlabs, you got to set up the scenes, and, you know, sometimes you got to redo, like, my positioning and that kind of thing of my avatar, and just make sure that everything works. It sounds really easy, but to be honest, it can take some setup, depending on the game. You know, if it's a pretty hefty game, it might take a little bit more setup to make sure that that my bitrate and everything can handle it, that my computer can handle it. You know, I spend probably an hour before streaming a game that I've never streamed before. I probably spend an hour setting up all of that stuff, not including the thumbnail and all of that, which can take a little bit more time. So yeah, there's a lot that goes onto the stream, off stream. Sound levels, that kind of thing. Sound levels, God knows if I'll ever get that figured out. Saw my my first FF7 stream already got clipped by the claimants, by the content ID, so that's a lot of fun. And it's always people that, you know, they're not legitimate. You know, you dispute them, and the dispute goes to an email address that's probably not even functional anymore. You just have to wait the 30 days for it, but there's really not a whole lot that can be done. I don't know why YouTube doesn't crack down on them a little bit more, because I know there's big companies, like big actual legitimate music companies, that have had issues with these bots and have told YouTube about, like, who they are multiple times, and there's still nothing's done with it. Like the ones that claimed my last one for the FF7 stream, they're the same ones that have Content ID claimed Dova Syndrome quite a bit. And Dova Syndrome, I mean, they're the ones that do all of, like, the HoloLive music and stuff. Like, they're a licensing and free license company that handles a lot of VTuber content over in Japan. So, like, they're a legit company. And even they've had to post about this this group that Content ID claims a lot of Final Fantasy's music. And they're like, hey, we've been working on YouTube about these guys for ages, and they're still not doing anything about it. So just dispute if you can, because if you've licensed through Dova Syndrome, like, hey, you've got the license for it. And, like, obviously with Square Enix, they have, like, their entire streaming guidelines. So I just have to, like, literally go there, copy and paste their link to Square Enix's streaming guidelines, and put that in the dispute, right? But yeah, it's just kind of annoying. You do what I can. So if it ever seems like the sound is like really quiet or something like that, that's why. I guess the sound was a lot louder than I thought it was whenever I did the FF7 stream. I thought I had adjusted it so that my voice would be talking over it enough, but man, these bots are tricky. Like it can be rough. I'll be completely honest. It can be very rough. And like I said, it's not like I'm in any danger disputing them most of the time, but that extra 30 days out, it hurts. It really does. You know, it doesn't just hurt the revenue because all of that goes into escrow. I don't really make enough for that to be too much of an issue anyways. Like, I might make a quarter on one of my live streams, right? So it's really not a big issue. But what it does do, as far as I'm aware, and I'm not sure if anyone truly knows how it works with YouTube, but it does hurt the algorithm. Like, if something's been claimed, supposedly it doesn't get boosted in the algorithm and impression rate as much. So that's where it really hurts. I don't care about the revenue. I just want people to come in and enjoy my streams and have some eyes watching it, right? So if content ID claims do actually affect the algorithm a little bit, then yeah, that sucks. Like, that really sucks for me, having this big, complete Final Fantasy playthrough and this big project that I hope people are able to enjoy and watch along with me as I go through this journey. And then have it just stall in its tracks because the first episode of a brand new Final Fantasy game that I'm starting doesn't get any views because of the algorithm, right? So yeah, it is what it is. I just deal with it as I can. But yeah, I do have to spend a lot of time off stream dealing with audio levels and making sure that I'm not going to get clipped by that kind of stuff. And yeah, if it seems like it's super quiet on stream, it's not because I'm not trying my best to make sure you guys can enjoy the audio, or because I feel like you just really enjoy hearing my voice, right? It's because I have to make sure that it's at a level that it's not going to be clipped. It's not as big of a deal here because obviously 14's big enough game that Square basically has that on lockdown, right? Like, anyone trying to claim Final Fantasy 14 music is going to get a big old fistful of Square's lawyers. But for whatever reason, they don't do that with the older games. Maybe because there's just been so many versions of them over the years, it's hard to do it. But yeah, I wish Square Enix would step in and do a little bit more in terms of trying to keep other people from trying to make content ID claims on older Final Fantasy game music, because that would just make it so much easier for us to enjoy it, right? Okay. I need to repair after all of that. I'm sure I do. You know, if it was a major company, like Dova Syndrome was obviously very big in terms of music licensing, but they're not Square Enix, right? If Square Enix themselves were coming in and cracking down on it and basically yelling at YouTube like, hey, stop letting this company do this, then it would be a lot easier. But for whatever reason, they haven't. And again, I don't know the particulars of it. There's more than likely a lot that goes into that, right? Oh, these are like way out there, huh? Oh, the limonette's gonna be the pain in the ass. Okay, well, we'll sit here and wait for it, I guess. we'll. I was hoping to make a ton, and I guess I'm not gonna be able to do that here. I wanted to get as many out of the way as I could. And it's from 6 to 8, huh? Thankfully, I should be able to get quite a few out of it. There we go. Boom. Can I increase it even more? There we go. Try and get as many as I can. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of stuff that I don't think viewers see on stream. And to be honest, I don't think a lot of major companies talk about it because it's kind of like, oh, this is business stuff. We can't talk about this on stream. But as an indie, I feel like I can talk about it. Let's just be honest, man. Like, As long as I'm here trying to do what I can, as an indie streamer, you know, I don't mind talking about some of these things that we don't always get to talk about on the big channels. So it is what it is. But we'll discuss this stuff, and obviously, you know, this is just one person's opinion. I'm hardly, you know, a hollow star, right? I've got a ways to go before I reach that level, if I ever do. So, you know, take my word for what it's worth. You know, bigger streamers like Hollow Stars, or, you know, some of these big indies out and about, maybe they have a different experience. You know, I'm sure some of them have the lawyers to kind of deal with some of this mess that I don't have, right? And I don't even know if the bots really affect bigger streamers as much. You know, it could be that the bots only crawl some of us smaller streamers. I genuinely have no idea. So most of this stuff is just from my experience. You know, don't take it necessarily for gospel, because I don't really know if it is or not. I don't know what the experience is like is gonna be for other streamers, but just from what I read from other streamers and people on Reddit, and, you know, the old Google search, you know, it seems like most of the things that I talk about are just kind of like common problems, right? And all I can do is just talk about my solutions to those common problems, but everyone's going to be a little bit different. So yeah, that's just kind of my experience streaming. Here we go. The only thing is, like, I've said it before, but take advice from people you trust. Like, there's a lot of advice out there, and all of it might be a little bit different, and some of it kind of sketchy, right? So always consider who you're getting advice from. If you don't trust me, then by all means, take my word for a grain of salt. Like, I don't mind. I'm not going to be offended by that, because, again, this is just me trying to make it on my own. Your experience might be completely different. But, like, you know, just for example, I see a lot of people, like, when these big agencies have auditions go up, like Niji or Hollow Stars or whatever, inevitably, I see people on Twitter or see videos pop up on YouTube, like, what to do during your audition, what not to do during your audition. I can review your audition, you know, things like that. That kind of stuff is super sketch to me. You know, if it was coming from someone who's actually part of those agencies and they're, you know, doing one of their Zatsudans, and, you know, they do that on stream. You know, Fanana or most of the Hollow Stars have talked about their audition process before and what to expect, but they don't actually, like, share their audition video or anything like that, right? And you can trust them. They went through the process and they got in. But if it's just some random indie saying, like, hey, here's what to do for your audition, why would you trust that? They're not in those agencies. So how do they know what those agency guidelines are going to be? How do they know what rubric those agencies are going to use? Like, they can give you, like, general advice maybe, but they don't know what these companies are looking for. So, like, if someone on Twitter or someone on YouTube is saying, hey, here's what to do for your audition video, or hey, here's what you need to do as a streamer, like, I 100% think that's super sketch, right? The only people that I listen to for things like that would be the people in the agency themselves, because they've actually gone through it and they're in those agencies, right? Like, they know what to expect. They know what what their recruiters are looking for. But a random indie who's got, you know, 1,400 subs on YouTube, right? So, like, if I was trying to give you advice on your audition, why the hell would you listen to me? If I was in any position to give advice on, like, things like that, I wouldn't be an indie streamer, right? Like, if I knew what I was doing, I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be much better off. So yeah, if you're gonna take advice, consider who it's coming from. That's really all I can say. You know, don't just listen to any old person because They act like they're confident and act like they know what they're talking about, and they use big words, right? But like, I can tell you a little bit about how Hollywood works because that was my job for a long time. Like, I can give you like some advice on if you want to go to an audition for like a movie or a film, something or like a movie or TV show. I can talk about that experience, but it's probably not what people are going to want to hear because that's the reality of entertainment, right? Like I did a movie once, way back when I was trying to be an actor, right? I did a movie once with a really big producer who's made a lot of really bad, like not even B movies. They're like straight to DVD horror movies that were basically pet projects for his son, right? He's a big time producer trying to get movies for his son to make, right? The only reason I got the role that I did was because I have blue eyes. Literally, that was it. I got through the audition process for the first round. They liked my audition, I guess. So yeah, there was a little bit of acting involved with it. But to actually get the role, they lined up the three of us that were the finalists, I guess you could say, for the callbacks. They lined us up and looked to see who got us, who looked the closest to the older version of the character we were going to play. They were going to see which of us looked closer to that actor. So I got it because I had blue eyes. Congratulations. That's how auditions work in Hollywood. Not what people want to hear. It's it kind of goes against basically all kinds of audition advice you'd probably get on YouTube, but that's how the industry works. Like, that is the honest to God truth. And people don't want to hear that because you don't want to give that as advice because it doesn't get you clicks, right? It doesn't get you views trying to say, "Hey, here's how to handle your audition." People don't want to hear that, so people don't give that kind of advice because, again, it doesn't give you clicks. It doesn't make it sound like you're an authority on something, right? But that is the truth of how it works. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these big agencies in VTubing kind of work the same way, right? Like, they've got what they need what they need, and they're gonna get whoever fits that. And it could be something just completely random, has nothing to do with who you are as a streamer, who you are personality wise. So yeah, if you're doing all of that kind of stuff, if you're trying to do all these auditions or whatever, trying to be a big streamer, like, don't take it personally. There's so many different kinds of streamers out there and so many different kinds of content. It's essentially impossible for any one piece of advice to work. It really just kind of depends on what your goals are and what your talents are, right? So yeah, it's kind of my little rant on people trying to give advice on how to do this. And it's kind of, I mean, that's always been my philosophy, right? Like, it's the same way whenever I do my Talking the Red episodes. Like, I don't go into Red Mage gameplay saying, "Hey, this is strictly how you have to do things because I'm the one parsing this amount, and this is how the theory crafting works out," right? Like, no, I just go in. It's like, "Hey, this is how I do things, and this is the numbers that I pull doing that. So, maybe it would work for you." Like, this is my thought process on how I go about doing this fight. But by all means, it doesn't necessarily mean it's like the only way to do things. Right? And I feel like I want to take that into other aspects of my life. Right? Whether it's talking about what I'm doing as a VTuber, or what I'm doing as a streamer, or what I'm doing in Final Fantasy, right? It's just my experience. This is what I'm doing. This is what is working for me. This is what has not worked for me. But for another person, it could be different. That's kind of what I do whenever I talk about. Am I going? Okay. Here we go. More cinnamon. Oh wait, no, I'm out of range here. Whenever, like, it's something that I took into account very early on when I started writing, right? Like whenever I started writing my novels and looking for advice on like how to edit and how to go about, you know, querying agents and all of this other stuff. I feel like in the literary world, people are a lot more upfront about that kind of stuff. I don't know why. But yeah, you will occasionally get people who are like the authority on the advice, right? And they have that mindset about them. But generally, most people who talk about writing and talk about editing and what worked for them, a lot of people are very upfront about saying, hey, this is what worked for me, but your path is going to be completely different, right? Stephen King is very good about that. I don't know if you've ever read On Writing, like his biography / writing advice thing. Like that's like one of the first thing he says is like, hey, I barely have an education in this. I really have no idea how I became successful, but this is really what worked for me and how it all went down. It might be completely different for you. I think he even jokes about it a little bit. He's like, hey, they told me that this needed to be a writing guide. So I have to put some of this stuff in here to act like some kind of authority, but to be completely honest, like I'm just winging it. This is what the publishers told me to do, but they go with what your heart tells you. And I think that's kind of what made me love Stephen King early on. Is like he was very upfront about that kind of thing, right? So so I'm passing that along to you all. Take my advice for what it's worth. It's all you really can do, right? Okay, so we've got a lot of limonettes, but not nearly as many as I would like. But I think we've still got quite a bit of time in game before I can go and get some more. So I think it's time for the ambrosial water. I think we're almost done, and we can start crafting a few of these Cyan Vus. Cytune Vus. I don't know how it's pronounced. Bear with me. All right. Wait, why did I do that? There we go. There we go. Back to it. Yeah, the only advice I can really give is how to have a really weird life and make absolutely no money doing it. That's really about the only thing you should take my word for. How to become a burnout. There you go. Okay, so as we move on in here, getting a lot of maps pop up, but I've been trying to save my map things for just plain old leather maps, so I can try and get those koi fish or whichever ones they were, right? Because yeah, those garden pieces, don't sleep on them. It's because they're kind of a pain in the ass to get, right? Like you can only get one of those maps a day unless you buy it. If you buy it, you'll end up running out of money pretty quick, because they don't really sell for much less than the actual koi fish do. And obviously the fish, I don't even think they're koi fish. I don't know what they are, but they're the ones that get you that indoor garden, right? The big water pool. So yeah, they the raw maps do not sell for all that much cheaper than the actual fish do. And obviously the fish are not a 100% chance. So yeah, I only really do those maps if I can farm for it, do my once a day thing on them, right? And hope for the best. Once you get it, making the indoor pool is really not that hard. As long as you've got your I can't remember if it's goldsmithing or alchemy. I think it's goldsmithing, right? As long as you've got that up, it's super easy to make. It's just that one map, you know? So I try and save my daily map for that one. It takes a little bit of time. It's kind of a pain. I don't know what the deal is with the spawn rate on it, but yeah, it's over near Wineport. I think just south of Wineport. And I don't know, I have to spend sometimes like 10 or 15 minutes getting it to proc. I really don't know what the deal is. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. Oh man, that was way further over here than I thought. Hey. And also, I'm running out of crystals. That's the other thing, is I'm spending a lot of money on crystals right now. What? How much? Okay, so thankfully, Saitu Venu takes the ones that I've got plenty of, because I haven't really crafted a whole lot, but I'm super low on wind crystals, and I'm super low on lightning crystals. I need to spend a day just working on that. Like, you can buy them, but crystals are like a big money maker, right? So they're not necessarily cheap. Like, you'll spend 100K on crystals, and I'd rather not do that. I'm doing this because I'm supposed to be making money, right? It's thankfully not too hard to get them. I just have to figure out and remember where the crystals come from. Like, I don't really remember too much about where to get my wind crystals. In fact, I wonder if I can look that up. Search by gathering method, huh? Okay, so you can look at the gathering method for crystals. That helps me out a little bit. That makes it a little bit easier. The daily loporits help me out a little bit with the lightning crystals, but it's only, you know, by the time you take into account the actual crafting you have to do for the dailies, like, I'm only getting like maybe 20 a day, if that, which is really not a lot for crystals. Like, you'll breeze through that in 3 crafts on some of these. So yeah, I'm just kind of winging it when it comes to the crystals, and trying to stay above water for those. Okay. But if you are looking to make some money and, like, you're not a big crafter, that might be one of the easier ways to make money. Like, if you just kind of lightly craft, but you're not like an omni crafter or making a whole lot of money off of, you just kind of do it casually, sell your crystals. Like, you can make some good money off of that stuff. But if you are an omni crafter, Godspeed, because yeah, I really hate spending money on that stuff if I can. Again, I'm doing this to make money, not spend 100K on wind crystals. So, you know, Godspeed. I feel like I've got maybe a few that I can. What am I sitting at? I don't really remember. Yeah. Oh man, I've got a ton of ice crystals. To be honest, I don't even know what uses ice crystals. I could probably get rid of some of that. Make a little bit of money there. Yeah, it's one of those things I feel like people kind of forget about. It's got its own tab on here, so it's not like front of mind. It can get kind of tricky to remember it, but once you do remember it, the world is your oyster, man. You got the whole world in front of you. Okay. I guess I can keep doing this until we get close to 6 o'clock Eastern, or Eorzean time. There we go. We're almost there. All right. I feel like I'm not any more awake than when I started the stream. I might be a little more animated and talking now that I'm warmed up. But my mind, it's still in bed. It's still gone. I got nothing. I don't mind doing these early streams. Like, I feel like there's not really enough streams this time of day. I know that I've had quite a few people from over in the EU watching the stream. They wish there were more people, like, up at like noon to 3-ish. Like in US terms, because that's when a lot of people are watching in the EU. And yeah, there's really not a lot of streams, so, you know. I try streaming at different hours. Most of it comes down to, like, what my work schedule is and what my sleep schedule is. You know I've done a lot of, like, overnight streams lately. But I'd like to try and play the field, I guess you could say. Make a little bit of content for everybody and see where it takes me, see what works, see what doesn't work. I'm honestly surprised that well, I guess it's because of VODs. But I did have a few of y'all watching live at the live letter watch along, which is impressive considering that was 6 o'clock in the morning, right? So, if nothing else, the FF14 fans are loyal. God knows I am. I don't know what would happen without this game. Oh God, I'd be playing WoW. Ugh, can you imagine that? Being another WoW VTuber? Ugh, Blizzard games. My buddy the other day, you know, my BFF, who I need to get back in touch with. I haven't hung out with him in a couple of months. I think we've both just been busy. He invited me out the other night. I'm like, man, I gotta be up early for work, man. So I need to get in touch with him at some point soon. Yeah, he texted me the other day and was like, hey, you playing D4? You know, I played the demo and it was pretty good. I'm like, man, I'm not touching another Blizzard game anytime soon. So yeah, he still hops in it every now and then. You know, it was our game in college, and it's hard to break that cycle. You know, I don't blame him, but for me personally, like, I'm not doing it. I can't do it. It's I stick to my guns. I'm stubborn that way. But I don't know. I play a bigger range of games than he does. You know, he works a lot. Like, he works a lot more than I do. He has an actual job. He has an actual job that pays him actual money. So he's a lot more limited on what kind of game time he can have. Whereas I feel like I've got a little more time to kind of experiment and do different things. If I wasn't a streamer, if I was working full time, then yeah, I'd probably just be playing this. But thankfully, as a streamer, I try and do a bunch of different things, because that's kind of the expectation, right? I mean, that's why I like VTubing. That's what I explained in my video earlier. It's like, I actually can do different kinds of content. It doesn't even have to be gaming content. I can do guitar or singing streams or just chatting, right? So yeah, I have a little bit more freedom than he can. And it's very easy when you're just kind of... when you're an actual worker, when you're an actual productive member of society, to stick to the companies that you kind of grew up with. And obviously we grew up with Blizzard, so it's easy to kind of stick with that, you know. But in case anyone's wondering, am I ever going to be doing D4 on stream? No, I will not. I've said it before, I've said it a billion times. I will play Blizzard games again a couple years after the Microsoft takeover, and not a moment before then. So yeah. That's where I'm at. Again, I try not to go into that kind of stuff super hardcore on stream. It's just, I know I don't know, it's just, I know a lot of people started watching my channel because of the WoW content, right? Like, way back in the day. It's been, God, what, 7 years since I put out those videos? So I know there are a lot of people that are watching me because of that content. Because they started following me way back when I played WoW. I don't even know how many of those accounts are still even active, right? But I feel like I just need to make it clear. Like, if you're watching me for WoW content, or because I'm a WoW type of streamer, like, that's not the case anymore. Like, I'd rather you go watch people that you actually enjoy, so that I can focus on you know, making the kind of content that enjoy the kind of content that I actually do, right? I'd rather have those viewers on my stream. There's plenty of other people out there to watch, right? I've said it a billion times. You know, if you stuck with me all this time, I appreciate it, and I'm glad you like my content. But if you don't like my content, like, that's fine. Just go watch someone else, you know. I'm not gonna be hurt by that unsubscribe button. Like, it is what it is. It's kind of it's a transitional phase that's gonna happen. So it's something I go into fully aware of, right? All right, so I've got more than enough of this water. So we need to go back. We need to go back over here as I spend all of this gil on a bunch of portal fees, right? I think that's the biggest drawback right now of not having an FC is just, man, I miss having those FC buffs. These portal costs It doesn't seem like much because I've obviously, like, got plenty of gil to handle it. But it does add up. And it adds up in ways that you don't really realize. Like, yeah, it doesn't seem like I'm really losing a lot of money because I've got so much, but I'm not really gaining any money either. Like, pretty much all of the money that I'm getting through this crafting stuff is going right back into portal fees. I need to go and try and pick up some Aetheryte tickets. Like, I think, I don't know, you still can get them from the Grand Company, right? I can't remember, but I thought that was the case. Like, I know they have Grand Company, like, Aetheryte tickets. But do they have just, like, normal Aetheryte tickets? Like, the ones that you get, like, way back in the day from the recruiter friend and whatnot? Or the, what was it, the veteran rank rewards? I can't remember which of the methods you got them from, but yeah, whenever I start a new character, it throws 99 Aetheryte tickets to me in the mail, and I can't remember how I got them. But I think those are the same ones you can get from the company. I need to start spending my seals on those instead of the old gacha. I don't even really know what comes from the gacha. I don't know if there's anything that, like, I can really use from it. But, yeah, at least on this character. A couple of my other alts still have a few Aetheryte tickets left. Didn't use them all. I typically only use them on ports that are going to cost me over 1,000, right? Like, anything sub 1,000 I feel like I can deal with. I can make that back pretty quickly just from whatever my retainers bring back these days. But, anything else gets kind of tricky. Anything over 1,000, yeah, that gets expensive. And especially in this expansion, because they have expanded the fees quite a bit. Like, going from Garlemald to Rodzithan, or Sharlayan to the Moon, or whatever. I can't remember what the big ones are. There's one area going to the Moon that's over 1,500, and then I think it's Rodzithan to Garlemald is like 1,500. Because they are on opposite corners of the Earth. Like, the prices themselves are actually set by the physical distance in game, like lore-wise. So, yeah, it gets super pricey, super quick. All right. I think it's going to be about that time. You know, this already was a lot longer for a Guerrilla stream than I thought it was going to be, but I gotta eat here in a little bit. I gotta get some breakfast or something. I'm kind of hungry. So yeah, thanks for hopping in and listening to me rant about some RL stuff. And I know it's not like super drama or anything. Like I don't know. I don't feel like I could ever be the kind of person that wades deep into the muck on certain things. So it's just me kind of talking, I guess. But, you know, thanks for listening to me rant and just kind of chill and get some stuff done here in the game. You know, I'll be in for a little bit longer in game. If you see me running around on Ballmonk, feel free to say hi. It's never, I'm never not going to say hi to you back or anything like that. But yeah, I thought, you know, if I'm going to be doing this stuff and just hanging out on stream and just kind of doing a quiet Zotsadon anyways, right? Then, oh man, I gotta stretch. I've been trying to do my sit-ups and work out a little bit in the morning. I'm getting the little love handles here, which I've never really had, and I don't really have enough of a body to have them. Again, I've got that big slender man frame, right? So I've been trying to do my sit-ups and stuff, but it really hasn't been helping me wake up at all. So I thought maybe this would help me, and it did a little bit. So I appreciate y'all kind of listening to me rant a little bit. I'm not mad or upset about anything. I just needed something to kind of talk about that's gonna wake me up, you know. Oh boy, even on a 4-hour shift, I'm feeling like I'm gonna need the coffee on this one. So yeah, thanks for helping me out and just kind of hanging out with me, right? I hope you guys have a good rest of your Tuesday. Again, we will be back tomorrow with Final Fantasy VII, the second stream of that one, and hopefully getting out of Midgar, maybe a little bit beyond. But yeah, same as always, if you want to hang out and see me in game or just want a nice place to chill, listen to me stream for a little bit. Like, subscribe, follow the Twitter, all of that good stuff. Share it with your friends. Again, I do appreciate it. That stuff means as much to me as any of the super chats and ad revs. So I am thankful for it. But take care, y'all. Have a good Tuesday.